Hi, it's me again, and when I come across stories comparing Netflix to the BBC, I always find them interesting. Mostly because I quite like Netflix, and you may have noticed that I don't particularly care for the BBC. But some of the comparisons are a bit on and off, But this is quite an interesting one. I thought we could talk about it today. Have a look at this. BBC has far greater variety of factual programming than Netflix, says executive. Now, the executive that said that, do you think they work for Netflix or do you think they work for the BBC? Because the people in the BBC defend it. They couldn't defend it more if they tried because they're riding the gravy train to retirement. It's a job for life. It's the old communism days, isn't it? And when you do retire, you get your big fat pension. They're not going to say anything bad about the BBC, but here we're a bit more objective. And I have given the BBC credit for stuff in the past. I give credit where credit is due. But this headline doesn't seem right to me. I think that Netflix has a far greater variety of factual programming than the BBC. Mostly because it's stuff from all over the world for global markets. And some of it is market dependent as well. So if you have Netflix in the UK, you might not get some of the factual programming that they get in the States. They get different stuff sometimes. But if you use a VPN, you can see all that. They have a huge, huge content library. BBC mostly focuses on UK stuff, which is wonderful, and that's the way they should be doing. But you can't say they have a wider variety if they're focused on one market and Netflix is focused on a global market. Let's read on. The Chief Content Officer of the BBC has said the power the corporation has to reach millions is far greater than people realise in a direct comparison with Netflix. Speaking about the BBC, Miss Moore told the Radio Times, I think we have to make sure it is indispensable, or should be indispensable, because of the distinct British stories that it tells. Because of the very best journalism from the UK, because it's trying to be relevant to a British audience. Right, well, let's take a look at those two paragraphs, shall we? So, she's the Chief Content Officer, so she's going to defend it to a hilt, because she's probably on a couple of £100,000 a year, I would imagine. And the pension she's going to get at the end of that is going to be insane. So if we take away the BBC's funding and we scrap off the BBC, she's going to be knackered, isn't she? So she would defend it. So take everything she says with a pinch of salt. But BBC says the power of the corporation to reach millions is far greater than people realise in a direct comparison with Netflix. Yeah, they can reach millions of people. What's the population of the UK now? 66 million, something like that, isn't it? So they can reach that many people, and they have BBC America and a few other bits and pieces that they sell around the world. Whereas Netflix is sold in 90% of the countries in the world now. I think they have a bigger reach. They also have a bigger reach with the younger audience who like Netflix. They care to use it. They don't care to watch broadcast TV from the BBC. And they like paying for Netflix as well. They're happy to pay for it. No one's happy to pay the licence fee. Oh, some are, but straitjackets are in short supply because of it. Right, so what else does it say here? She's speaking to the Radio Times and she says, I think we have to make sure it's indispensable, or it should be indispensable because of its distinctive British story. Yeah, she wants the BBC to be indispensable. Does she want it to do it because she genuinely cares for the journalism and the content that is put out? Or because of her huge salary and huge pension, which may be lost, quite a lot of it lost, if the BBC go down? You can't trust someone from the inside saying they fight for the BBC, because what she wants is skewed. And we don't have any sort of financial interest in the BBC, so we can be more objective about the whole thing. And the BBC's crap. So she goes on to say, only 3% of viewing on Netflix is of factual programming. That's way smaller. Now it sounds to me like she's twisting words a little bit there and trying to use numbers to make her point, when I think her point would probably be wrong. Okay, I'll take her on her word that only 3% of stuff on Netflix is factual programming. I will take her word on that. I don't believe it, but I'll take her word for sake of argument on this, right? But Netflix's library is so much bigger than the BBC's that they may only have 3% of it being factual, but they'll still have 50 times more stuff that's factual than the BBC will have, just because of the size of their library. So the BBC might have a bigger percentage of its library being factual, but Netflix has more content. It must have more content. I really think that right now the BBC is proving its worth. I think we did that during the health crisis. There are these moments when there is a real feeling that we've never needed a public service broadcaster more to inform, to educate and to entertain and to bring the nation together. Bring the nation together, really. BBC News was bringing the nation together, was it? And I still don't understand the argument for that as a public service broadcaster. There's more than one news channel, and the government can put their announcements out on more than one news channel. You don't need a public service broadcaster. You can't really trust it. In my mind, you can never really trust the public service broadcaster, because we all know that in the BBC's charter, they must broadcast at times of great need, or whatever the wording is on there, anything the government tell them to broadcast. So I can't trust them. I don't think we need public service broadcasters. You know, the government can put out announcements on any of the news channels that it wants to put it out on. It's not a problem, is it? They all carried the same announcements anyway, so why was the BBC different? And if there's anything the government need to directly say, well, they can use their own website, they can use social media. A direct government communication with the people is going to be more effective than a public service broadcaster, isn't it? So I just don't get the argument for having public service broadcasters in this day and age, when if the government didn't say anything, they can reach the people directly. There's no argument there. It's really important that we serve our audience that has loved us for many years, but it's really important that we create the next generation of people who can love and value the BBC. Yeah, it's the second part of that that's the important part. They're not bothered about serving the oldies. They've already said they're not going to make much new stuff now. They did say they weren't going to make any new stuff for BBC 4, but they've backtracked on that a bit, and they are. But they're taking away your free television licences for the oldies. They're cutting back on the oldies programming to put more spend to attract the younger audience, as she says there. It's really important that we create the next generation of people who can love and value the BBC. The reason for that is because that's the next generation of people that are going to pay the licence fee. The oldies aren't going to be around forever, and they're the ones that defend it. And the youngsters, who grew up on the Netflix generation, don't care about broadcast TV. So they need to try and capture them now and get them used to paying for a licence fee. Otherwise, they won't be selling any licences in 10 years, will they? Good and all. So yeah, it comes as no surprise that I disagree with something a BBC executive has said. And I think a lot of them are just out for themselves when they're defending the BBC so strongly. You know, because if the BBC goes down, there's going to be a huge fight for other jobs with other media organisations, and she ain't going to get the money she's getting. She might lose her pension. She's got to defend the BBC. As soon as she retires, she won't give a crap about the BBC, will she? Because she'll be living on that pension, and she's had the gravy train all the way to retirement. But while she's there, she's got to defend it. The same as I would with my job, you know, if people were slacking my job off, I'd defend it to the hill. But yeah, so I get it. I just don't agree with anything they say, and they just live in their own little BBC bubble. Don't know. But what do you think about this? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in another video again soon. Thanks for watching.